Hi, this is the wrong lens. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited to finally get this video out, and for good reason. When Banggood.com told me that they wanted to send me the ever popular On Pro 2, I was super stoked. I was like, heck yeah, send me an On Pro 2. But I'm not only excited to try it out, I was excited to tell you guys about it and make a video about it because some people have been asking about it. Some people have been like, hey, test out this keyboard. And I appreciate that. And so the On Pro 2 is here in my hands. And after maybe like a month or so of just using it exclusively, I have some words to say about it. The On Pro 2 comes in two colors. I have the white version. There is also a black version available. Now the On Pro 2 comes with various types of switches, and I'm not just talking about like the color like red, brown, and blue, but I'm also talking about the manufacturer. This is the Gateron Red model, but there are also Kale versions available. The On Pro 2 has been out for a little while. There's tons of videos out there, I'm sure, but you know what? That's okay. You're here watching this one, and I appreciate you. Inside the box, you know the drill. Manual, keyboard, cable, and actually a nice keycap puller, not one of those little cheap plastic ones that I tell people not to use because you'll scratch up your keycaps, and some keycaps are in this box as well. And I'm not just talking about the ones that are on the keyboard. Every On Pro 2 is also going to come with a set of multicolored keycaps for you to customize and tweak the keyboard a little bit. There's purple, pink, green, this like teal, bluish color, and a yellow. As you can see, I've kind of swapped out a couple of the keys just sort of semi-close to the portly colors. It's not quite like completely portly colors, but it's as close as I have, so I'm just tossed them on there for the sake of branding. Now, my first impressions upon putting this thing on my desk, plugging it in and testing it out was ooh. Basically, one of the first things that I do when I'm testing out a keyboard, I mean, obviously, is type on it. I just mess around with the keys, see how it feels, see how it sounds. And this has to be one of my favorite keyboards. I say that, I feel like I say that in a lot of my keyboard reviews, but this really is one of my favorite keyboards that I have used, and I think this is probably gonna be my new main, replacing the GK61. And that's for a variety of reasons. I have wanted a white keyboard for a while, and I finally have one, and it's a really nice white. As I'm pretty sure I've said in previous videos, there's more to a keyboard feel and sound and typing experience than just the switches. I have tested other Gateron Reds in previous videos on other keyboards, and they have not quite felt like this one does. Now, the Gateron Optical Reds on the GK61 feel and sound completely different from these. Partly, yes, because they are the optical versions, whereas these are the traditional, regular mechanical switches. But the keycaps and the base, the plate, everything involved in the construction of this keyboard, all these factors together on this keyboard really work in this keyboard's favor. Here's a sound test of the Gateron Reds on the On Pro 2 compared to the Gateron Optical Reds on the GK61 from that video. Now, in particular, the bigger keys like your backspace, your enter, your shift, and the spacebar just sound cleaner. They don't sound rattly, they sound nicer. That also has to do with the stabilizers, I'm sure. I don't know a lot about stabilizers, what makes them good, what makes them bad, what makes them rattly and not. I just know that this one, apparently just from the sound and the feel, has some pretty solid stabilizers, and it really just works really well together. There is a reason that the On Pro 2 has been so popular for so long. It's one of the best 60% keyboards that you can really buy out there for around this price. The keycaps on the board, as well as the ones included in the box, are all a nice thick PBT, and I really prefer that over ABS. For various reasons, ABS, they just get oilier over time, like much quicker, and with a white keyboard, you want to try to keep it as clean as possible, so keeping any oils or dirt off of a cheaper plastic that would probably kind of hold on to those dirt marks more, all that gamer gunk, you're not gonna have to really worry about that so much here. You are still gonna wanna keep this clean if you get the white version, so just keep that in mind if you're getting a white keyboard. Be a nice, clean person and wash your hands and take a shower and say hello to your grandmother if she's still around, and God rest her soul. This video's going dark places. Now it does have a detachable USB-C cable. It's like a weird dark red, which kind of clashes a little bit with the white, but it is like a decent cable. It powers the keyboard and it makes it function, and it does what it needs to do. So color or no color, it's perfectly fine. Now the cable is not just detachable for the sake of ease and switching in and out and picking a different keyboard or what have you. This is actually a Bluetooth keyboard. There's a little switch on the back here that you just turn on, and bam, look at that. We've got color, we got lights, folks. We got lights. And through Bluetooth, the keyboard can actually connect to up to 4 different devices. I tested this out on my computer for a while using a Bluetooth dongle that I got on Amazon. Even with gaming, though I wouldn't recommend doing some hardcore competitive gaming on a Bluetooth connection, it worked pretty fine. I didn't really notice any lag or any kind of issues or input problems. Again, I wouldn't recommend it just because if a problem does arise, that could really kind of mess things up if you're playing like an intense game of, I don't know, Roblox. But there is a nice sense of security in knowing that that connection is at least there and has been stable throughout my experience. The only real issues I encountered with the Bluetooth is that it did not want to reconnect sometimes once I turned my computer on and tried to just use it without having to go in my settings on my computer and set up the connection again. The RGB on this keyboard is really something to be seen. It's just so smooth and seamless. The camera really is probably not going to give you a good representation of how smooth the RGB looks, but it's just so buttery. Can RGB be buttery? I feel like if so, this is it. When you see the multicolored animation of wave lighting going through the keyboard, and you see how you can't really see like diodes or reflections of diodes like you can with a lot of RGB keyboards, it almost looks like the plate underneath the keycaps itself is like an RGB screen with multiple lights that is lighting up. It looks clean. You can use function 2 and the 9, 0, minus, and plus keys to change the lighting settings all on the keyboard. Either changing the lighting preset, adjusting the brightness, or just turning the RGB off altogether if it's not something that you prefer to use. The keycaps do have side printed legends for any secondary functions and layers. There is also the magic function key on the caps lock key, which basically turns one of your secondary layers on permanently as long as you have that toggled on. So for example, if you hit function 1 and the caps lock key, that will turn on the F row on the number row, so that when you hit 1, it will instead function as F1 and so on without having to hold down the function key. You can actually go into the software and change and reprogram what you want those secondary functions to be, which adds a nice layer of customization to this keyboard. You can also create different lighting presets to your preference, download them onto the keyboard so that you can use it wirelessly with your built-in presets that you want. This thing is so customizable, it's so cool. I really like it. And I haven't even gotten to one of my favorite things about this keyboard that I have not seen on any other keyboard I've tested, and that is these 4 buttons right here in the corner. Shift, function, the little paper sheet menu key thing, and control. These 4 keys actually act as arrow keys without having to hold down a function button, without having to program anything in the software. Fresh out of the box through the tap feature on this keyboard. What that essentially means is that these buttons are normally to be held down. If all you do is give it a quick little tap, a little taparoo like that, they work as arrow keys. Now, unfortunately, the only downside to this is say you're doing something where you need to hold the arrow key down. It won't work that way. In that case, you would have to hold like function and W, A, S, or D. And I use that all the time. And it's just made this one of my favorite and most flexibly usable keyboards that I have reviewed on this channel. And I love it. And I'm so excited to have this thing in my possession now. I feel like I'm just gushing about this keyboard. So I'm going to go into a couple of the negatives. Kind of already touched on one. That was the Bluetooth thing. Again, I don't know if it was actually the keyboard, but if it is something that is going on with the keyboard, that is kind of unfortunate and kind of annoying that you kind of have to go in there and set the Bluetooth connection up every time. Maybe it's just me though. Maybe I'm just doing something wrong. Now, this next complaint is very nitpicky, whiny little baby boy doesn't quite get his way and is ungrateful kind of complaining, which I'm not trying to be or anything. I do think it is really cool that the On Pro 2 includes extra keycaps with other colors that you can use. I just don't like the colors that came with it. That's about it. Like the pink and the blue, like I mentioned, like they're cool. Like I kind of like looking at this right now, but they're just not like my color. They're not this shade of pink or blue. So it's just like, oh, That's unfortunate. And again, that's just really nitpicky and specific. I could always buy other keycaps if I wanted to. They did not have to include other keycaps in the box. But if you watch this video and you think the OnPro 2 is right for you, then you can check it out at banggood.com in the link in the description below. The price really kind of varies up and down. I believe it retails normally for around $99. On Banggood right now, as the time of recording this, it is $82.39. It'll be readily available for you to check out in the link in the description below. Full disclosure, it is an affiliate link. Feel free to let me know what you think of this keyboard, what you think of this video, and what you think would make for a great reboot of a 90s cartoon television show. That's the topic of the day for the comments below. If you like this video, consider subscribing because I have a review coming up for this keyboard right over here. And also consider watching another video like this one over here about another keyboard, or something completely different like this one here, which is more focused on whatever I decide to put there.